Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And so remember when people were talking about how Europe was going to approve this deal? Wait. That's right. No one was talking about that. That's right. Mr. Clickbaiter didn't mention this. So let's talk about this. Um, so yeah. So here's the thing. Okay, guys. So as I mentioned when I like a week ago talked about a certain YouTube user, and basically talked about how he creates stupid bullcrap all the time. I had mentioned that the European regulators were going to basically discuss if they were going to approve this Disney Fox deal or not on October 19th. Now, as you know, today is October 19th. So I was checking, just some updates to see what was going on. And one of the things that I got was something that was quite interesting because it was a news article from a couple days ago. And it was basically that they have basically postponed this meeting until November 11th. And it's very, very symbolic that they did this, because this tells me that Europe is like not really convinced on this deal. That's the only reason why you postpone something. Only reason why you postpone anything when you're talking about deals like this is if there's something out of the ordinary, that there's something that they're just not like into doing right now. So Europe has postponed the deal for about a couple more weeks. And I think this is quite interesting. I think, this is my opinion, I think Europe is going to deny this deal because I don't think they, and this is from what I'm thinking right now at this time, you don't postpone a deal like this because this has been out in the ordinary for like several months now. I mean, this has been like out there. Like Europe already knows like what's been going on. They know what's been going on. They know about the whole Sky deal and how that's now going to Comcast and all that stuff. They know what's been going on. So for them to postpone this deal for a couple more weeks tells me that there's something there that they're not ready to move forward on. And this could lead to even more postponements, especially since supposedly they want the deal to close on January 1st of next year, first day of 2019. This tells me that there is a lot of things going on besides the fact, now I want to also mention this, is that China is still in play here, not just Europe, and there's other country markets that have 20th Century Fox, plants in their country as well that need to approve as well. So with Europe, postponing this tells me that there is more or less that this is probably not going to be done for a while. And it's definitely not going to be approved by January 1st or whatever, whenever it's supposed to be closed. That's not going to happen. So what are the scenarios? Now, there's something I will agree on with most people are saying right now about this deal whenever it gets approved, is that the moment, Fox becomes Disney, the one thing I do agree on is that these Marvel characters that are occupied by Fox are not going to just pop out into the first MCU movie right off the bat. Like some people seem to think, okay, they're going to have a movie right away, for these, they're going to implement all these Fox characters into the MCU right away. That's not going to happen, especially with Dark Phoenix coming out, because Dark Phoenix will come out regardless of this deal. That's going to the theaters. The contracts have been placed. They're not going to try and buy it out, their contracts for the theaters. That's going to the theaters no matter what. no matter what happens with this deal. I don't know when the hell it's going to actually come out because it's been postponed like 3 times now, in terms of where it's going to be released. But it's coming out. Dark Phoenix will come out. It's going to be put on the theaters. It's going to be released. That much is happening. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But with that being said, X-Men is too fresh right now in its Fox Cinematic Universe for Kevin Feige to basically just say, okay, right now we're going to, put them into the MCU, reboot them and put them in the MCU right away. They're not going to do that. It's going to be a few years. Unless they decide to have the Fox characters cross over, the Fox Marvel characters cross over with the MCU with like a Secret War or something, because people have coughed up the theory about a Secret War, of them doing a cinematic universe Secret War by using the 20th Century Fox cinematic universe, which in a way I think would make sense because, the Fox characters are like their own, it's their own universe, outside of the MCU universe. So for them to collide would sort of make sense. But in terms of a business sense, it would not be probably good for Disney, because then they would have to treat the Fox Marvel characters as equals to the MCU, because that would mean they're acknowledging that their continuity is canon to another timeline, even though they are canon anyways, but they are canon to, their timeline, and that it's all, connected, and they're just in a different universe. That's the only way it could happen. That's the only way that could happen. And the only way it would happen is if Kevin Feige signed off on it, because Kevin Feige has control of the Marvel Studios plant, So that's the only way that's going to work. Maybe Deadpool could be the bridge for that, but that's the only way that's working. That's the only way it's going to work out. So, that's the only way that's going to happen. And, which again, it could happen. I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's unlikely. It's an unlikely scenario. But I will say that I don't think the Fox Marvel characters are just gonna appear out of nowhere right away. Because they have their movies still that are coming out next year. It's gonna be too fresh. People are going to wonder why this is like that or this is like that. Why is this different? It would be too soon. Now, Fantastic Four is more likely to pop up into the MCU right away, and I know a lot of people will be, why? Because because Fantastic Four, more or less, is a dump franchise at this point when it comes to movies. It's a dump franchise, and so that would be the ideal one to try to revive, especially since you have characters that no one even knew about in the MCU that have done quite well for themselves. It would be better for them to do a Fantastic Four right away, if they were going to do anything right away. But even Fantastic Four, I don't think will be done right away. Now, the villains for Fantastic Four, however, the people that are in the villains of the franchise, I think are more likely to pop up into the MCU first before anybody else, because they don't really have that many in the MCU. They don't really have that many, top tier villains, because most of them are in the Fantastic Four franchise. Doctor Doom, Galactus, Silver Surfer. All those guys are occupied in the Fantastic Four. So those characters might be likely to pop up in the Avengers or something like that, because that could, help the villains, because it's always been Thanos in all their, for the most part, their, crossover type films have been mostly Thanos. So that would be the more likely scenario if this gets approved and this gets like going January 1st, but it won't. It won't be until probably the end of quarter 1, summer at the latest, probably. But with all these delays, and I will say this right now, if we get even another delay, if we get another delay with Europe or China or any other country markets that are still doing 20th century or they're still trying to approve this deal, it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse for Disney because then it's going to be longer. And the longer the deal stretches out for, which again, it makes sense because this is how it should be. I don't even know how or why this deal has gone as quickly as it has. But more or less, if this deal keeps stretching out where nothing gets approved or nothing gets done, and this deal is still pending, Fox still has to treat business as usual. You know what I'm saying? Fox still has to continue doing their movies as if, a deal's not happening. They still have to treat it as if a deal's not happening, basically. That's how companies always do this when there's mergers and stuff like this. So the longer this deal is still pending and stretches out, the more likely there could be more movies that get put into production, like Deadpool 3, or I think one of the rumored movies was X-Force, which I think that's supposed to be a crossover of X-Men and Deadpool, if I'm not mistaken. But those are supposed to go into motion for next year, which we don't know if they're still going to be done because we don't know where Fox is going to be by the beginning of 2019. But let's just assume right now, this is a hypothetical, let's just assume that nothing gets done by January 1st. And Fox still has, their company. They're still 20th Century Fox. They're going to start filming because, like I said, it's business as usual until the deal is finalized officially, where they officially own it. Disney officially owns Fox. They still have to continue filming, their future projects as well as their future films. Not just Marvel, any films that they're planning, even films that are not associated with Marvel characters. They have to still continue filming those. So it's business as usual until stuff is finalized. And so this is the one thing I just don't understand. Like, people aren't covering this. Like Mr. Clickbaiter isn't covering this, Mr. CBC too, who, the God knows of the clickbaiters. That's the thing with the whole clickbaiters. It's just like, I find it funny that no one's like talking about this. But, I kind of give you guys the 411 because I am not here to, like I said in the last video I made on a certain YouTube user. You guys know who it was. I kind of mentioned his initials anyways, but basically, I am not trying to be biased towards Fox or Marvel Studios or whatever. Like, I'm just giving you guys the actual information, giving you guys the sources. I personally don't want this deal to go through, but not because of the fact that Marvel will lose their chance to get, their characters back, but because I see this deal as a monopoly, and I think the deal should be approved in general. Not because I'm like salty that superhero characters are moving back to Disney or whatever, or moving back to Marvel. I just don't like this deal in general because, Disney will own like 40% of like the movie theater, which isn't that good. And as we had noted, well, I did a video a while back with Richard Korkanobi, and as we noted, Sony Pictures isn't doing that very good in the money aspect of movies right now, though they did pretty good with Venom, I will say, so maybe they're going to do a little better. But in terms of like the movies right now, Venom or Sony Pictures and Warner Brothers are like outside of like Disney. Once Fox assumingly gets bought by Disney officially, those will be really the only two big time guys left. I mean, there's Universal too, so I guess three. Those are really the only three big ones left. I mean, there are a few others too. You got Viacom as well too, to a certain extent. MGM isn't doing really good. They've been pretty much not doing good for a decade now. So that isn't really good. So those four other ones, right? I mean, those are the four other ones left, but they aren't that as big as Fox's. Fox actually has more market value than all those other companies we mentioned for the movie industry. And like I said, I mean, we can't for one, I don't want to see any other theater company getting merged with Disney either, because a lot of people are saying, oh, well, now they got to buy Sony, so they can take over, Spider-Man for good. And my whole thing on that is that would be disastrous if that happened, because if they get Sony and they get Fox, like they planning on getting Fox, assuming they do get Fox, they would own over 50% of the movie industry, which is not good. I know a lot of MCU fanboys were upset about James Gunn getting fired, right? Well, just imagine this right now for a second. Just imagine James Gunn being fired and not being allowed to get a job anywhere else, because a lot of people are pissed that he's jumping ship to DC right now. But the fact of the matter is he got fired from Disney. He has every right to seek other employment from other film industries. Now, my personal opinion, I don't think James Gunn should be directing Suicide 2. I think he should be directing something new, something that's completely brand new to the DC universe for the films, not something that's a sequel. But that's what they're giving him, I guess. But just imagine James Gunn, right? Getting fired for something that he did 10 years ago, which I'm not condoning what he did 10 years ago, but something he did 10 years ago that he's not that type of person anymore. And he gets fired. And might I add you, he said all this nasty stuff when well before he got casted to be the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Disney knew about this baggage, yet they didn't do anything. And now all of a sudden, okay, now we're going to fire him. You know what I'm saying? By Disney getting more companies and getting more assets, they have more power. And don't get me wrong, Disney has a lot of power already, but they don't have 100% power. Okay? By giving them more companies to buy, in terms of the film industry, they are going to be a monopoly, which means not good for the economy, not good for money aspects, because money's going to go up, their prices are going to go up, and not good for the film industry because they're already owning 40%. They would own 40% of the majority of the films, which that's something that's a big, big no-no. That is a big no-no, and that is why I don't like this deal. I have never been behind this deal because of that aspect, because we don't want a monopoly. I don't want a monopoly, and some of these MCU fanboys don't get this because all they care about is getting their characters back. you know, on the big screen. So that's my whole take on this. But like I said, my source, I put my source in the description. Um, the like I said, but the intent of this deal was for the Europe regulators have postponed the deal from today's October 19th approval thing to November 11th to determine if they are going to back this deal or not. Hopefully they don't. But that is the update on this. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this. Comment, rate if you like this video or any of my other videos. Please subscribe. And that's about it, guys. I'm the SS Ultimate Goku, and I'm out of here. Peace.